All right, let's dive right in. We're looking at a huge story out of Delhi today, one that pits public safety against animal compassion, and it's all about the city's massive stray dog population. This whole thing got so intense, it went all the way to India's Supreme Court. And what happened next was, well, pretty dramatic.
And really, this is the question at the heart of it all. How do you strike that balance? You've got citizens who are genuinely scared, and at the same time, you have a real commitment to animal welfare. So how do you find a solution that actually works for everyone? It's a tough line to walk, and Delhi was right in the middle of it.
So before we get to the court's decision, you've got to understand just how big of a problem this was on the ground in Delhi.
And the tension here is so clear. On one side, public safety. And these aren't just minor worries. We're talking alarming numbers of dog bites and the very real, very scary threat of rabies. But on the other side, you've got the animal welfare advocates. They see this huge population of stray dogs that, let's be honest, are mostly just trying to survive in a pretty tough environment. Two completely valid concerns just clashing head-on.
It was this exact tension that made the Supreme Court step in. And their first attempt at a solution? It was pretty drastic, to say the least.
Okay, you're going to want to remember this date, August 11th, 2025. This is the day the court handed down a ruling that sent absolute shockwaves through the city.
And the order itself? Wow, it was incredibly blunt. The court basically said, get all the thousands of stray dogs off the streets, immediately. They were to be sterilized, vaccinated, and then moved to shelters. And get this, they gave the city a deadline of just 8 weeks to do it all. The court pretty much just threw out the existing animal birth control rules, calling them ineffective and demanding something big and fast.
So you can probably guess what happened next, right? The reaction was immediate, and it was intense. The city didn't just roll over and accept this. No way. It fought back.
And look, this wasn't just a few people complaining. The opposition was huge. We're talking major animal rights groups, well-known activists, even celebrities got involved. And their arguments were pretty straightforward. They said the order was inhumane, it was totally impractical. I mean, where would they even put all those dogs? And it actually went against existing laws meant to protect animals.
This quote from activists really sums up their whole argument. They weren't saying, do nothing. They were saying the court's plan was just the wrong way to go. Instead, they wanted to stick with the method that was already established and scientifically proven, the Animal Birth Control, or ABC protocol. You sterilize and vaccinate the dogs, and then you release them back into the areas they already know.
So all that public outcry, all those legal challenges, they were so powerful that they led to something pretty stunning, a complete and very, very rapid reversal. Just 11 days. That's it. That number alone tells you everything about the power of that public pressure. In less than 2 weeks, the Supreme Court took another look at its own huge decision.
The new verdict was all about one thing: balance. So first, dogs that were sterilized and vaccinated, they were to be returned right back to where they came from. Second, the only dogs that would be quarantined were the ones that were confirmed to be rabid or dangerously aggressive. And third, the court actually acknowledged the role of citizens and set up designated feeding stations so people could care for the dogs in an organized way.
And when you put the two rulings side by side, wow, the difference is just night and day. The original order on August 11th was simple: remove all strays, no exceptions. But then, just 11 days later, the new approach was totally different. Release them back with specific exemptions for aggressive dogs and the creation of these designated feeding zones. It was a complete 180 from a policy of removal to one of management and coexistence.
But here's where the story gets even bigger. What started as a crisis in Delhi didn't just stay in Delhi. This new verdict became the model for something much, much larger.
Yeah, the Supreme Court basically took this new, balanced approach and invited every single state and territory in India to adopt it. So a local fight in Delhi ended up setting a precedent for a whole new national policy on how to manage stray animals.
And the people who had fought so hard against that first order, they were, as you can imagine, thrilled. Animal rights advocates called it a scientific judgment, one that finally figured out how to combine public safety with humane principles. For them, it was a massive win.
Now, the story doesn't quite end there. The source material we're looking at today offers up another layer to this, a much more controversial take on what was really going on.
Okay, so I have to be super clear here. What we're about to talk about is the theory from the source material itself. We are just explaining what it says, not stating this as fact. It's just part of the source's full perspective.
So, the source brings up this idea of a political diversion.
What's that? Well, it's the theory that sometimes a really emotional, dramatic public issue is created, or at least really hyped up, to pull everyone's attention away from other, maybe more damaging political stuff.
And here is the specific claim the source makes. It alleges that this whole firestorm about the stray dogs, the harsh ruling, the huge public fight, the sudden reversal was all orchestrated. Why? To distract the public from a completely separate and alleged controversy about vote theft. Again, this is a direct claim from the source material we are explaining today. So all of this leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. Whether you see this as a straightforward legal battle that found a good compromise or a much more complex political game, it really forces us to ask, when you have law, public safety, and basic human compassion all crashing into each other, what does a truly just solution even look like? Definitely something to chew on.